Uh, okay, good morning, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Glory Sessions. So, today I want to talk about the true costs of your actions because this is something that I encounter a lot with guys who I coach with, or guys who I coach, because no one really ever focuses in on what are the true costs of your actions, or in most cases, inactions. Now, the guys I deal with predominantly are men in their 40s, 50s, who are what you would say, hello, Lauren, how are you? And Richard, how you doing? Um, they're not what you would call like athletes, shall we say, right? They've maybe played football 20 years ago, and then they've got married, they've got kids, and they've fallen into this habit of eating food, not exercising, maybe playing a bit of golf, maybe a bit of five-a-side once a week, and the weights come on, and they're no longer feeling like the men they were, and they're after that sort of feeling again. They want to feel more like a man again. The reality is that after the conversations I've had over the years, most guys overweight, they won't admit this openly, but when you get them one on one and you build up a relationship and you start talking to them about things, they eventually come around to accepting that, admitting, sorry, that they don't like who they are and they want to change. But the fear of changing is so great that it usually knocks them back. They get into the cycle for maybe 12 weeks, maybe 16 weeks, but some life throws at them, derails them, and then they fall back off the wagon. Then it takes them a while to get back on it, and it's that usual cycle. We all know what I'm talking about. Most of us have been there. But what are the true costs of this inaction, or the costs of your action? Because reality is, when you decide not to take the train, when you decide to avoid eating the food you know you should do, when you avoid going for the walks you know you should, that's still action. You're still taking action. The action isn't right for you or for your goal. But none of us really actually want to go deeper into the thoughts of, well, what are the true costs of me not making the moves I need to make? Well, if you're a father, your kids are going to be watching you. You're their greatest influence. You're their first influence. You're the king, the hero. Whether it be your dad, your daughter, your dad, your daughter's first king. Like, there's no one going to be able to match their father, and the influence you give on those children at a young age. They're going to judge all other men on that. And then, as if a son, well, your son's going to look at you as their hero. You're going to be the guy, the man that they think is the strongest, the fastest, the best fighter, the protector. So, what image are you presenting to them? Because your inaction, or your actions, are determining what their perception of the world is going to be like, who they're going to be, or the chances of influencing them, who they're going to be as an adult, is much greater. So if you're sitting in the house and you're eating your Doritos and you're fucking binge watching Netflix, and you're drinking every night, or you're eating takeaways, and you're whatever it is, you're cheeky to the wife, how you talk to the wife, how you talk to other people, all of this is building up their perception of the world. And when you start realizing that as a parent, you are no longer, it's no longer about you. It's that your life is no longer yours, shall we say, because everything you do will have a direct influence on the children. Everything they see you doing, everything they don't see you doing. So we say, if we're sitting in our house, not training, not exercising, not eating properly, that is having a direct effect on how they think life should be. And this is the true cost of your actions as a father. Now, I'm only talking about people who are fathers, people who are parents. But even if you're not a father, you're creating a habit. And if you end up becoming a father down the line, well, that habit's going to be hard to break. And you're probably going to have that the influence you have on your child is going to be one that you probably don't want for your children. Ultimately, we all want our kids to be a better person than we were. We want them to, we hope that we can pass on our mistakes and our knowledge and our experience, and they can take that knowledge in and then apply it themselves. And as they get older, become a better human being than we did. And our goal should be to help them navigate the earth, not to make them live their own, not to make them live the lives we want to live. We should be guides. The one thing I've come to realize is sight enabling are not mine. We tend to call our children ours, but they're not really ours. We're just guides. They're their own person, their own identity, their own personality. we may see traits, like I see a lot of traits in Sive that I have as a child, and I also see a lot of traits in Evelyn that I have a child, but doesn't mean they're me. And I think we all as parents fall into this trap. We think, we see so many traits our children have because they've watched us and because they've got our genes. But ultimately, they're their own people, and our goals, our job should be to guide them through life and help them navigate this confusing as fuck world, especially as it's getting more and more confusing. But the influence that we have on them cannot be overemphasized. And if you're a dad and you're sitting on your arse all day and you're always quitting, you're always giving up, you're always finding an excuse not to do what you know you should do, no matter what you tell your kids, no matter how you try to influence them verbally, ultimately it's the actions you take are going to be the greatest determining factors to who their influences are going to be, how they're going to be influencing their life. And if you don't accept that and you ignore that and you try to justify your stories or living your life the way you're living it now, if you know that the life you're living is not the ultimate life you should be living, you know you're better than this, you know you could achieve more, but just life has hit you down, knocked you down a bit, and you're falling into your own stories, you're falling prey to your own fears, and those your own fears are holding you back. You've got to remember that justifying not facing those fears is also keeping you in a certain mold, the guy you don't want to be. And the guy you don't want to be is the guy influencing your children. And you've got to look at yourself and ask yourself, if you're like, I look at me today and I go, would I want my daughters to marry someone like me? And the answer is no, definitely not. I'm a stubborn, overweight fucker. But I've accepted that, and I'm taking steps gradually to change that. Now, I'm not saying that everyone needs to be hard on themselves and put themselves down and feel shit about themselves. You just need to be honest with yourself. You just need to tell yourself, be honest with yourself, and discover your own faults and be honest with what your own faults are, because your own faults are also influencing your children. Now, listen, you can learn from your mistakes. Like I have learned so much from my mistakes. I have learned so much. I've made so many mistakes myself, but when I do that, and I'm very reflective. I'd be a very deep person, as some of you probably know. And if I fight with Gail, I will, like, I'll scream, I'll shout, never. And if I don't think I'm wrong, by the way, I never back down. I'm a nightmare that way, but I'm too stubborn that way. But if I'm wrong, I like to go away and reflect, and then come back and admit I was wrong, and then try to change change that trait in myself, and try to hold myself accountable to change that. And that's how you grow as a person. It's all about not making mistakes. We all are human. We're all going to make mistakes, and we have to accept we're going to make mistakes. It's not learning from the mistakes is the problem. Sorry, can you please do a video about how Desperate Lock needs to end? It's a joke. I will do one day. I will do it soon. Trust me, but not at this moment. I'm getting too pissed off with that stuff, so I'm trying to avoid doing it. It's too angry. I'm too angry about it, so I am. But yeah, you need to be more reflective on who you are, because when you look inside yourself and you can be honest with yourself, where you should be able to see your bad traits, the traits you like about yourself, the traits you don't like about yourself, and you should be willing to try to change those traits. Because if you can change those traits, guess who's watching? Your kids. And it gives you more ammunition. It gives you more evidence of how you don't have to be that person, and that can be explained to your children. And this is what I do to my daughters. Like, my Saya's only 7 years old, but her confidence isn't great. She's confident in certain things, but in other aspects she's very unconfident. She lacks it. And I like to use I can see a lot of her personality. It was what I was like as a child: shy, reserved, believe it or not. Empathetic, believe it or not. But I can sort of empathize with her, because I understand her sort of position right now and how shy she is, and how she doesn't like conflict. Because as a child, I didn't like conflict. I had to teach myself to face conflict and to not back down. This is the person I am today was not the child I was, if that makes sense. I was the complete polar opposite of who I am today. And I can see that in Sive. Now, my goal is to help Sive navigate this world in a way that does not affect the way I was affected as a child, because my childhood, the bullying I received, the fear that I lived in, was the reason why I created this person who was terrified and who tried suicide so many times. It's taken me all these years, 43 years, to get myself to a point where the confidence is there and the self belief is there and the understanding that I can achieve whatever I need to achieve if I just put my mind to it. That's taken years to cultivate. So when I see Saib making the similar mistakes, I try to talk to her as a child, but tell her the experiences that I've had as a child, and highlight the pitfalls and the mistakes that I made and how I got over them, but do it in a way that children understand. But I can only do that through experience. So because you're overweight, because you're not happy who you are, doesn't mean that it's not a good lesson. And I think people need to understand that, understanding the lessons life teaches you. Everything we experience in life is a lesson. Everything, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's still a lesson. And if you understand how to apply it, you can improve your life and you can improve your children's life. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want to make our children's lives as, I wouldn't say as pain free as possible, because pain's a teacher and it's impossible to go through life without pain, but more so teach your children how to deal with the pain, have the confidence and resilience and fortitude to overcome the pain that you're going to experience in life, because life is pain. That's just how it is. We without pain we can't have pleasure. Without sadness we can't have happiness. You know, we need this yin and yang experience in life to actually experience what life is. So the true cost of your actions, you've got to ask yourself is, when you're sitting there and you should be doing your training, you should be eating better, you shouldn't order Chinese, you shouldn't like have that slice of pizza, but you still do it anyway. What are your children doing? Are your children watching you? Are your children looking at you going, well, that is what I want in my life. That's who I want to be. That's who I want to live. That's the type of man I want to live with. And if your actions are not standing up to the standards you would want for your children, then you've got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? What is what is making you do something that you know you don't want to be doing? And you've got to get to that point where you can then start unraveling that man inside you, and seeing the traits and the points that you don't like about yourself and changing them. I know this is very deep. I do this all the time, but this is you're just getting experience into my mind, how my mind works. This is what I think about 24/7, how I think all the time. And for me, it's good. It's a reflection thing is needed to happen for everyone. And I don't think enough of us do reflect on ourselves. I think the society we live in is full of blame. Danny, how's it going, mate? Our society we live in a culture that pointing the finger at other people is easier than actually looking inside ourselves. I'd be very stoic in my approach to life, and understanding that you are the architect of your life is it's a very freeing experience. Once you understand that life's going to throw shit at you, life throws shit at us all, and everyone will experience similar situations, not the same, but it's very similar situations. And it's how we deal with them, how we respond to them, is going to determine the outcome. And that's why a lot of people, like when I owned Fight Academy Ireland, there was a lot of people badmouthed me, and I got annoyed at that point. At this point when I was I think I was 30 maybe at the time, and I was very immature and I was very reserved and very aggressive, just because I was very defensive. But I remember a lot of people always badmouthing, who do they think they are? Look at them. But now at 43 years old, I look back and I go, that wasn't anything to do with me. That was to do with them. That was their own personalities. They weren't happy with who they were, and it was easy for them to point the blame at me, point the finger at me, because me succeeding was highlighting to them their feelings. And rather than them actually going inside themselves and looking at their own feelings and looking, well, and using that as an influence, well, if he can do it, I can do it. It's easier for them to badmouth me. And then they find a group of people who are of a similar mindset. And then that sort of cancerous culture builds in them. They're all bitching about someone's success, because ultimately that success is highlighting to them their lack of success. And the only reason they haven't got success is because they haven't had the balls to try it themselves. They haven't had the balls to fail. I have failed over and over and over and over and over again. The amount of times I failed is ridiculous. But because of those feelings, I'm able to go away. And by the way, the feelings were painful to the point where suicide was an option a couple of times, but luckily it didn't. But because of those feelings and because of the sort of stoic attitude I've got now, I've taught myself to have over the years, I'm able to reflect off that, and I'm able to then apply the lessons that I find from it into the next experience, and then it makes it better. Like Primal, for example, for 5 years, I've owned Primal 5 years. I can remember in 2017, December 2017, I didn't eat food for 3 days because I had the choice between giving the money to my ex-partner for the children for Christmas or feeding myself. That was the point I was at. It was such a bad. I was buying my business partner at the time, and I had literally no money. He sprung it on me that he wanted out, and I had to get a certain amount of money up in a very short period of time, and I literally had no money, and it was a very depressing. I was sleeping on the mattress, the green mattress in the gym, because I literally could not afford the petrol, because I was living in North Belfast at my friend's house, and I couldn't afford to have to afford the diesel to travel to North Belfast back to Lisbon every day. So I had to choose Monday to Friday. I slept in the gym to save myself the diesel money, and then I had to build up Primal. And they were dark days. They were really trying days. But because of that trial, because of that experience, it's helped me grow, and it's helped me become the guy I am today. I've got more strength from that misery, because I never want to bite back at that time again. But two, I know that if I ever do hit that point again, I know that I've got the strength, I've had the experience to get myself back out there. And that's what life does. Life teaches us lessons. The painful lessons that we all try to avoid are usually the greatest teachers for us, if you know how to apply it and if you think about it properly. And you then apply the mistakes you made. That experience helped me form the culture that I needed in Primal to make it the success it is today. And I know 100% that even the few members I've lost over lockdown, that as soon as these gyms open, I will have Primal busier than ever, because I've got the belief in myself, because I've been there, I've done it, I know how to do it now, and I know that it's taught me how to know the people I want to teach, the people I want to coach, and the people I don't want to coach, which is more important. I know the type of client I don't want in Primal, and it's through those experiences, because I had run-ins with Primal was making me miserable for about a year, because I was never coaching the right people, and I was so desperate to make it a success that I just took on anyone, and I've learned those experiences, that my actions, the actions that I was taking them days, was giving me the wrong clients, and the wrong clients were making me miserable, and it was making me miserable. I wasn't enjoying my job, I wasn't enjoying the business, and that's the whole idea of owning your own business. It should be a passion. And then I was able to go. I was brought down to that darkest point, and then I came back out of it. But that was through experience, and they were my actions, and I was able to reflect on myself and go, well, where did I make mistakes? What was I doing right? And I was able to apply them. And it's the same as you as a parent. Where are you making mistakes? Be honest with yourself. What mistakes have you made as a parent? And reflect on it and ask yourself these questions. And then when you recognize your mistakes, you can start finding solutions to problems. Because I think the problem is, a lot of us always focus on the problems. We're never focusing on finding the solution. And it's just that simple switch in mindset. If where your focus goes, energy flows. So if you're always focusing on, I can't get clients, or I am a shit parent, or I can't change my diet, or I can't train, well, then that's where the energy is going to go. The energy is going to go on to proving you right. I've done this talk before: the proved brain, the think brain, and the proved brain. In the simplistic terms, the think brain's job is to think. The proved brain's job is only to prove the think brain right. So if you're thinking you're a shit dad, if you're thinking, I can't train, if you're thinking, I'm a fat mess, if you're thinking, I can't change my diet, well, then the proved brain's job is simply to prove that thought right. And that means you're going to be stuck in that loop over and over again. And the simple solution to that is change the question, change the thought you're having in your head. Change it from the habitual thought. Remember, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those thoughts are the exact same as the day before, the exact same as the day before that, the exact same as the day before that. So these thoughts become habitual, and these habitual thoughts are going to be the subconscious mind telling you a story you don't even realize you're telling yourself. So when you find yourself saying, I'm fat, when you find yourself saying, I can't do that, I can guarantee that goes back to you thinking for years about you can't do something, you weren't good at football, you weren't good at whatever in school, and those habits, your parents maybe told you weren't good at that, and you held on to that belief, and those thoughts have continuously happened, bump, and it's now created the personality you are today. And the true cost of your actions are you're never going to take action because you don't believe you're capable of doing that, taking that action. So instead of focusing, I can't, just focus and say, I can. It's that simple. You're literally telling yourself a different story. I can. You might believe you can at that moment, but it's the sort of case of like fake it until you make it. If you tell yourself I can do it, and you take that leap, and let's take fitness for example. You take the leap and you join Primal, even though you don't believe you can do it, even though you believe you're going to be the fattest guy there, you're going to be the useless guy there, you're going to be the most uncoordinated guy there, you're going to be the weakest guy there. You just turn up anyway, and within a week you'll realize, fuck, it's not as bad as I thought it was. The fear that I had wasn't as great as the actual doing. The prime example I'll give you the other day was talking about daughters. Sive, we were up in Murdoch Beach and there was a sand dune. Now, Rory jumped off the sand dune, Lucia jumped off the sand dune. There was a bit of fear, a bit of trepidation there, but they both done it. Sive absolutely freaked out. She's got my fear heights in her soul. And it absolutely petrified her. And I mean, we had to have a real discussion. Say, do it, come on. And she wouldn't listen to me. She wouldn't listen to me. She chose to listen to Rory and Lucia, her own peers, who were saying, you can't do it. Just by kids being kids. And it took me quite a while to make her jump off. When she jumped off, she realized she didn't like it, but she realized she could do it. And I was able to use that example of like, did you see what you've done? You were listening to other voices. Instead of listening to the person who was trying to encourage you, you were listening to the people who were discouraging you, and you started believing that story. And that's what we all do. We all tend to listen to the people who tell us we can't do it because that's our internal belief. And that is like, it's almost like an anchor. It's almost like a support mechanism. Thank God I'm not the only person who thinks like that. And when we're thinking like that and we're then allowing our actions to be dictated by those thoughts. And the true cost of your actions are, your children are watching that. The true cost of your actions are you're never going to be the man you could be. The true cost of your actions are you're going to remain this person who you're unhappy with being. And that's mad to me. That's insanity. Because ultimately we can change that by simply changing our thoughts. I say it all the time, thoughts become our actions dictate our life. It dictates who we are. So it's very simple. Reflect on who you are. Deep one today, finish off for the weekend. It's maybe over your heads, maybe a bit. But if you start thinking about these things and you actually question yourself and you question your true actions, you can find yourself coming up with the answers that can catapult you to become the person you want to become. See you next week and have a good weekend.